Damon Yudichak Local CPA, where we reduce liabilities and increase tax returns. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the instructions for the NC-4, the new NC-4 that's going to be needed to be filled out before January 1, 2014. Now this, if you want instructions on the NC-4 EZ, or if you have a question about why you need to fill out a new one, you can see another video on that. So how do you know if you should be filling out the NC-4? Well, let me give you some quick instructions from the Department of Revenue. Okay, so here we have the instructions on who should be filling out an NC-4. You can fill this out if you want to be more precise about your withholding figures. So if you want to really spend the time to figure out the right amount to have withheld from your North Carolina income taxes, you're going to need to have some information. You've got to have your historical tax returns, and then you need to have an estimation of your 2014 income, deductions, and credits from that you're eligible for. Okay, so now let's just want to show you a quick thing here. So this is the NC-4 EZ. It says EZ. It is EZ. It's one page long. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. You fill out your demographic information, look at your filing status, follow the instructions here, and then fill out 5 lines, sign your name and date. Okay, now let's compare that to the NC-4. I really think they should have called this the NC-4 complicated, because as you can see, it's 6 pages here. If you look at the first page, this looks simpler, but if you want to really calculate your allowances, you have to go to page 2. All right, well, let's go over to page 2. First of all, you have to figure out which status you're in. And as you can see, there's a number of questions for each filing status. So if you're single, you're going to file there. You're going to look at those questions. You're going to answer those. Married, you're going to look at the questions here. Married filing separately, a different box. Head of household, different box. Now go to page 2, and then if you're a qualifying widow or widower, you've got this final box. You need to answer these questions. And so then basically, I'm just going to go through each box here. So if you answer no and you're single, you're going to go to the first page, which is the NC-4. You're going to enter in 0 in box 1 here, or line 1 here. Then if you, for whatever reason, you want to have additional North Carolina income taxes withheld, you would put in here how much you want withheld with each paycheck. So if you know that you want to pay in an extra $100 each paycheck, you would just put in $100 there. All right, so now we'll go to married filing jointly. Again, if you answered no to all the questions here, you're going to stop and enter 0 on the first page. If you answered yes to any question, you're going to go to page 2, part 2, to determine if you qualify for additional allowances. And so that's going to kind of be the caveat right here that you're going to look at on each one. Married filing separately, same thing here. All right, so let's go to page 2, where we're looking at the NC part 2. Okay, so first of all, you need to estimate your itemized deduction. Now we're going to start jumping all over the place in order to get the proper information in here. Okay, so we're going to go to page 3. Page 3, Schedule 1. You're going to enter your mortgage interest. You're going to enter your real estate property taxes. You're going to add those two numbers together. So if you've got $10,000 in mortgage interest, $1,000 in property taxes, it's going to be $11,000. You're going to show for your charitable contributions. Let's say you gave $5,000 to a church. 11,000 plus 5,000 equals 16,000, and then your total itemized deduction is 16. All right. Important note here: the sum of these items may not exceed 20,000. Okay, for married taxpayers, the 20,000 limitation applies to the combined total of qualified mortgage interest, real estate property taxes by both spouses, rather than the spouses separately. So right here, what it's saying is that you can only have 20,000 for the total qualified mortgage interest. So if you have a $30,000 of mortgage interest you pay, and you pay $10,000 in real estate property taxes, which equals $40,000, you can still only enter in $20,000. And then if you still have that 5,000 charitable deductions, you would have 5,000. So your total estimated itemized deductions for North Carolina would be 25,000. All right. Now that you have that information, you're going to go back to page 2, part 1. And that's where you enter that in right here. Okay, so we've got 25,000 entered in there. Okay, so then you're going to look at your filing status. Okay, let's say you're married filing jointly. We're going to put in 15,000. We're going to subtract line 2 from line 1, so that would be 10,000. Then you're going to enter in your total adjustments to income and state deductions from federal adjusted gross income from page 3, Schedule 2. Okay, so let's go to page 3, Schedule 2. Okay, so these are the things that would qualify for federal adjustments. So if you contribute to a health savings account and you get a deduction there, you're going to want to look at what that deduction is on your federal income tax return. If you have moving expenses, alimony paid, IRA deductions, student loan interest, certain business expenses, etc., etc. So let's say that we don't have any of that. So we're going to enter in 0. Okay, we're going to add those two lines together, and that's going to be... Alright, so now we're going to estimate your non-wage income. So that would be dividends, interest, rent, etc., etc. We're going to say that that's 0, and then the estimate of your 2014 state additions to federal adjusted gross income from page 3, Schedule 3. So we're going to go back to Schedule 3, page 3, Schedule 3, and you're going to fill out this information. Okay? And then you're going to carry that information back to page 2. Alright, so in this instance, we're just going to plan on that being 4. Or being 0. Okay, then we're going to subtract line 8 from 10. And so since 10, that's going to be 10,000. Now at this point, we're going to take that 10,000 and we're going to divide it by 4. Got my handy dandy calculator here. Divided by 4. Oops, let me redo that. 10,000 divided by 2,500 equals 4. Now let's say we had 11,000 and divided by 4. Whoops, 11,031. Let's just say that's what it was, divided by 4. As you can see here, whoops, I'm sorry, I've got to redo that. 11,000 divided by 2,500. We get a decimal point. You're always going to round down. Even if you had 4.99, you would still round down to 4. All right, so now you're going to enter in the estimates from your North Carolina tax credit. Go back to page 4, Schedule 4. And there we go. You got your tax credits for income taxes paid by other individuals. And then you're going to go through here and look through these credits and see if you qualify in any of those. And then you're going to just add those all up. And then once you get to the total here, you're going to take that back to your page 2, or part 2. And then you're going to come back and enter that information. You're going to take that estimated tax credit and divide by 145. Again, round the whole number down to 1. As you can see here, 200 divided by 145 equals 1.38. It rounds down to 0. All right. Now we're at line 13, and now you're going to be looking at if filing single head of household, married filing jointly, enter 0 in line 13 here. If you qualify as a widow or widower, you're going to enter in 3. And if filing is a married filing jointly, enter one of these 3 items. So let's say we're going to have 0 in here. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to, we've gotten to our line, we've gotten to finishing line 13. Now we're going to go 14. We're going to add lines 10, 12, and 13 together, and that gives us 4. If you, for whatever reason, plan to split the allowances between spouses, you would state here how much your spouse planned to claim. In this example, we're going to say 0, and then finally we're at the number 4. This number gets carried back to line 1 on the first page, right here. Okay, so as you can see, and then you would just go ahead and fill out your information here, personal information, and then sign and date. So as you can see, the NC-4 with the additional allowance worksheet does require quite a bit more work, but if you have a lot of itemized deductions and you want to be more precise about how much income is being withheld, you definitely want to take the time and fill this form out. So that is the end of the video. Thank you very much.